Welcome back to me, greet my friends, welcome back. Today, none other than the pork belly burnt in. Guys, I've been asked a lot in the comments, in my DMs, Marcus, can you do pork belly? Do a pork belly video, pork belly, pork belly. Well, I've been pork belly to death, so we're doing it today. And I felt like there was no better way to cook pork belly than to make a burnt end. Guys, there's something super special about a pork belly. I mean, we all grew up with bacon, that's where we get bacon from. But there's something special when you cube that bad boy up, toss some delicious seasoning on it, put it on some good hardwood smoke in the offset or in your Traeger or whatever, your Kamado, whatever your smoking apparatus is, and you just let it roll. You let it roll for a good 3 or 4 hours. Something happens with that fat on the inside that it renders down, it caramelizes, and then you throw it in your mouth, and it's just it's a symphony. It's a symphony, but I'm really tired of talking about it. I just want to jump into it. So without further ado, guys, the pork belly burnt in video. Behold, 6.25 pounds of pork belly goodness from your neighborhood Sam's Club. Yes. From your neighborhood Sam's Club. There's a couple different ways to cook pork belly burnt ends. I'll show you my preferred way. It's probably the quickest for sure. It has a couple extra steps in it, but if it's your first rodeo doing pork belly burnt ends, I'd highly suggest this way. So, what I see a lot of people do is they will cut this up just like so, and then they'll make their cubes. But the issue that I see a lot of times is they go a little bit too small. Guys, you want to know that when you cook this pork belly, it's going to lose about 25 to 40% of its weight and volume because it's going to render a lot of that fat out. And essentially what happens is that pork belly is going to shrink on you. So if you cut it 1 inch by 1 inch, it's going to be a lot smaller, and it's going to go from like a 2-biter to like a 1-biter. And if you go a little bit too small, it's just going to turn into like a pork belly popper, and you don't really get that full effect. Sounds kind of weird, but you want that bite and that gush of fat. That's what you want. That's what we got to create. What am I saying? I'm saying go a little bit longer and wider than you think and cut a nice size chunk like that. This is probably just a little bit larger than what I want. I'll shrink those other cuts down, but this is right in line. If you wanted to keep things perfectly uniform, what I do is I take that last cut, I put it on the corner, and then I give myself my guide. I'm just gonna run the same play. I'm gonna cube the rest of this out, and then I'll show you guys how we season it, and then we'll get it on the pit. Now the play here, guys, is extremely simple. We're gonna take these pork belly, I'm gonna season them. I'm gonna use Malcolm Reed's all-purpose barbecue rub. This is a great AP rub. Garlic powder, onion powder, a little bit of coarse black pepper in there. And then I'm gonna hit it with his The barbecue rub, which if you've seen any of my other videos, I believe this is the best color in barbecue when it comes to pork. I'm getting my color from this bad boy, a little bit of sweetness, again, a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, etc., and then I'm hitting it with the AP rub. Now you might be wondering if I'm gonna use a binder or anything like that. Frankly, this meat is tacky enough, and these rubs are made to stick and cling to the meat, so I don't see myself using any binder today. I'm just gonna go right over the top with this AP, and I'm gonna go real heavy. Gonna try to get all the sides, but again, I'm just gonna mix it around, and then I'll be able to tell how it's coating when I take this red seasoning, of course, and then we really douse it. But again, I just wanted to generally hit it with some of that AP rub. Now I'm gonna go over the top with the barbecue rub. Nice and heavy. I'm just moving everything around, as you can see, making sure all sides are getting hit. The longer we let this rub sit, the more it's going to tack up, the more it's going to absorb that smoke flavor once we get it on the pit, and that's what we like. Look at that color, guys. That's insane. If we have any white showing, any of this fat, any of this meat showing, make sure it's fully covered up. I think we're good. I like what I see. I'm going to hit the second batch, we'll get on the wire rack, and then we'll get on the pit. The last step in the process is I'm going to take a little bit of Heath Ryle's honey chipotle rub, and I'm gonna hit the tops of my pork belly with this. Again, I love the flavor coming off this rub, a little bit of smoky from that chipotle, sweet from the honey, very well balanced. And again, I'm gonna go pretty liberal, but I'm just gonna dust the tops just like that. Some of the sides are gonna get hit from the angle that I'm going in, so we'll get a little bit on the sides, but really my main concern is hitting the tops. Now that these are rubbed up, we're gonna go to the pit. The pit's running at 250 degrees exact. I'm gonna leave these bad boys in there for 2 hours on the dot. We might check them in between that 2 hours or so, but I know for sure I'm gonna try to leave my door shut for as long as I can, up to about the 1.5 hour mark. We might pop it open, see where they're at, but for sure gonna roll them on the pit for 2 hours, and then I'll show you guys how we render them down and then finish them off later. Appreciate you guys. It's been about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours on our pork belly burnt ends, and they're looking incredible. They're getting the color that I want. They're now starting to release themselves of some of that fat, some of that topical fat that we saw when we sliced it, and they're doing just what I want them to do. I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. Look at that color. I mean, truly, look at the color that we're getting on that pork belly burnt end. Now, you might be thinking, that is a massive pork belly burnt end, and it is. I am a fan of a 2-biter. I'll show you for reference. Once this is fully cooked and rendered, this is going to be a 1-biter. It's going to shrink in size. This is a 2-biter. I'm a fan of a 2-biter. So most of these are 2-biters. I got a couple 1-biters mixed up in there. Expect the smaller pieces to cook quicker. But I just wanted to show you guys the color that we're getting. They're starting to render, as you can see on my finger. They're just slightly starting to pump out some of that moisture. But guys, that rub that we put on there, it's just that color that I get every time I use Malcolm Reed's rub, the barbecue rub on my pork, it's just perfect. I'll let these roll for another 2 hours. I'll bring you back when I pull them and show you exactly what I'm looking for as far as doneness and tenderness is concerned with my probe, and then we'll finish them out. See you guys then. Our pork belly burnt ends have been on the pit for roughly 4 hours. Give or take some temperature swings, give or take me maybe or maybe not forgetting to put logs on my fire, but it is okay. We've made it. If you can see, we have the bark that we're looking for. We have the color that we're looking for. The fat cap has rendered, not totally, not fully, but it is starting to render itself out. And now is the perfect time to get them inside of our pan, put together a delicious concoction of butter, brown sugar, and a little bit of womp sauce, meat mitch womp sauce, and we'll finish them off in the pan. Once these get in the foil pan and wrapped in foil with all the butter and the sauce and all the goodness in there, they're really going to start to self-render. They're going to pump a lot of that intermuscular fat, a lot of this fat on top is going to pump out inside of the foil pan, and it's going to reduce the size or the signature of these, not by a ton, but by a fair amount. And so you don't want to overdo the butter in the bottom of the pan because there's already so much fat in these poppers. You don't want to do too much. Don't overkill it. You don't want this bite of pork to knock every cavity that you have in your mouth out, but you would like to get a little bit of sweet on the back end. Go over the top with some honey. Again, don't overdo the honey. Just enough to know it's there. This is a half a stick of butter or 4 tablespoons. I'm just going to break the half in half, and I'm just going to use 2 tablespoons of butter. Not a lot. Like I said, there's enough fat in there to do what we need. And to finish our concoction off, we got some meat mitch womp sauce. This is his naked womp sauce, meaning it's all natural, no high fructose corn syrup or anything crazy like that. So it's not as sweet as the original womp sauce, but it gives just the flavor that I want. A little bit of kick in there. This is, next to Blues Hogs, this is the best barbecue sauce, in my opinion, on the market today. Now that your pork belly burnt ends are wrapped up in the foil pan, you can finish this a couple ways. If you want to stick it in your oven, you can do that, no problem at all. Of course, because it's covered in foil, it's not going to pick up any more smoke flavor. You can finish it like I am in the Traeger. I'm running the Traeger at about 285 degrees, plus or minus 10 degrees. Or of course, you can just finish it on whatever smoking apparatus you started these on. The point is, it's really simple from here. 45 minutes at about 250 to 285 degrees, somewhere in that wheelhouse for 30 to 45 minutes. We'll check back once they're done. I'll show you exactly how I finish them off. And then, by the grace of God, we will eat these bad boys. See you guys then. We're back with pretty much the final check. And I wanted to fill you in on something very important for the way that I did these pork belly burn-ins. If you recall, last night, yes, last night, meaning yesterday, because today is a new day. Last night, I decided to throw a little Hail Mary and pull these off once they were finished. So remember, we wrapped these up, stuck them on the Traeger. Could have been a Traeger, could be your oven, could be your offset smoker, whatever you use. Stuck it wrapped in foil back in the Traeger at about 275. It took probably another 45 minutes for me to get the fat render and the tenderness that I was looking for, and I deemed the pork poppers done. Then what I did was I pulled them off the Traeger, stuck them in the fridge, and just let them sit in the fridge overnight. I did that for a couple reasons. One, we ran out of daylight, so we had to pick up filming the next day. The second reason I did that is because I am running this test recipe for a big tailgate that we got in a couple weeks. This is how I'll be cooking these on the day of the tailgate, meaning I'm going to make these pork belly burn-ins the day before, and then I'm going to stick them in the fridge, let them cool overnight, and then heat them up the next day and serve them. So I wanted to make sure that that actually worked. The reason why I'm telling you all this is because I thought it might serve you as well. If you wanted to see how these bad boys turn out, chilled overnight, reheated the next day, well, we'll find out together in real time. Now these are done. What I just did off camera was I shifted everything to one side. Then I put all of the pork bellies fat side up to the best of my ability. And so as you can see, I'm just poking this. I mean, if I were to poke through, that's gonna give. That is going to be an incredible morsel as you're chewing on that in your mouth. The way that I'm gonna finish this out now, guys, is I'm just gonna take my spoon, and if you had one of those kind of silicone, I think it's silicone, one of those little rubbery basters, I couldn't find mine, but I would just baste the tops. If you have a turkey baster, you can squeeze it on top. But I'm just gonna spoon this sauce. Uh-oh, we knocked one over. I'm just gonna spoon this sauce right over the top of these poppers. And what I'll do is I'm going to put it back in my Traeger, and I'm going to run my temps at 300 degrees just for 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm gonna get that tackiness that I want right on top. I'm gonna get that color that I want. It's gonna be incredible. The key with these pork poppers is you cannot eat a lot of these. It's just not possible. There's so much fat, there's so much flavor. It's really hard to eat 10 or 12 of these things. So in knowing that, what I wanna do is the 2, 3, or 4 that my guests are gonna eat of these, I just wanna give them as much flavor as humanly possible. This is how I'm doing it. Basting that sauce, brown sugar with that honey and that butter, mixed with the render fat, and all of the juicy goodness in the bottom of this. This is going to be a concentrated pop of flavor. So I don't need to put anything else on here. I don't need to add anything else. The last step of the process, now that I got these basted, is just to put them back in your smoking apparatus for 5 or 10, maybe 15 minutes, just to let that tack up, and then it's time to eat. I'll see you guys then. The time has come, my dear friends. We have finished our pork belly burnt ends, and I couldn't be more pleased. You will not see me do a bunch of talking right now. There's only so long that a man can take staring at a morsel. This, delicious. Come on, guys. Okay, so I'll show you this. For reference, there's a 1-biter, and here's about a 2-biter. So if you recall, I told you I cut these a little bit larger than normal. Some of them are a little smaller, and that's okay. It's just how it shakes out. But this is about the perfect size. We got the fat render we want. The meat is just tender. I could squeeze this, and it could just give way on itself. So without further ado, let's eat the pork belly burnt end. Whoa. Oh my God. Shut up. Shut up. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You wish you could have some. I gotta go for another one. One more. Oh. Yes. Oh. Oh. Okay. That's hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best bites of barbecue I've had in a long time. I will attempt to explain this to you, and I don't think I'll do it justice. It's sweet, a little bit of the pop from the womp sauce. Of course, you can taste kind of the honey, the brown sugar, the sweetness is in there. But when you allow these things to cook and render down in their own juices with that concoction, it gives such a mellow, such a balanced hit of just bacon candy goodness. Guys, I'm telling you, I say this in all my videos. I do not fluff you. I don't make this stuff up. This is genuinely one of the best pieces of just barbecue candy that I've had in a very long time. I highly suggest this. As a recap, these rolled about 2.5 to 3 hours between 250 to 275 in my offset smoker, just a good old Oklahoma Joe. Then I brought them over in a foil pan. Then I dumped in some Meat Mitch womp sauce, brown sugar, little bit of butter, little bit of honey, closed that foil pan up, stuck it in the Traeger, let it roll for about 45 minutes. This batch specifically, I stuck in my refrigerator, let them cool overnight, brought them back this morning, brought them up to temperature, yanked that foil off, glazed them fat side up for about 5 or 10 minutes, and what you have left over, mi gentes, is just a morsel fit for, I don't know who. I was going to say fit for a king, but I'm certainly not a king, and Jesus is king. But a morsel fit for Jesus himself. This is a morsel fit for the good Lord above, and maybe one day in heaven. I don't know if you eat in heaven. I'm on a tangent. These are delicious, guys. Just do it. Okay, as always, I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I'm not going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe because all that stuff is earned, not given. But if you do so feel inclined, thank you. Meet and greet. Big Frizz. Over and out.